So I apologize for the sound system going in and out. So I'm just going to come down here and maybe I'll even be brief today. Who knows? One of the realities about this reading is the fact that it's asking us important questions, especially this culmination of the Advent season. And one question that might come to mind is, are you happy? Are you happy? How would you honestly answer that question? My suspicion is that most of us would struggle answering that question, given our fantasy of what happiness should be. And we would tend to maybe answer it in the negative. No, I'm not really that happy, given all of the limitations that are placed upon my life, all of the frustrations, especially now as this last gasp before Christmas, all of the things that we have to do. Of course I'm not happy. I got guests coming from out of town. I don't even have a Christmas menu. I don't know what to cook. I haven't gotten gifts for all of these important people. It's Christmas Eve, and I don't have a card for Harriet yet. What am I going to do? Of course I'm not happy. I'm filled with anxiety, worry, whatever. Anyway, that might be how we're feeling right now. But maybe as a Christian, that isn't the right question to ask. Am I happy? For a Christian, there's a better question. The essential question should not be, am I happy? The essential question is my life meaningful? Is my life meaningful? When I was in the seminary, I had to take philosophy, 18 hours of philosophy, and my major was in mechanized agriculture. So I had a lot of science, no philosophy. So I had to do a year to make up, not having any of this philosophy. But anyway, my philosophy professor, Joseph Buckley, he was quite a character. He was a Marist priest, and he was superior of his order and actually participated in the Second Vatican Council. This is in a Roman Catholic seminary. And he had the insight to say, what was the most significant event that happened as a result of the Second Vatican Council in seminaries? And he said, and people were thinking, there was lots of really significant things like learning theology in English and not Latin. And he said, no, the most significant thing that happened as a result of the opening up of the council was bringing newspapers into the seminary. Bringing newspapers into the seminary so that now we knew what was happening in the world. So when he would come into the chapel and occasionally he would preach, he was well in his 80s, but he had a piece of paper or a Kleenex like this, and he would show this to us in the seminary. He said, this isn't very significant. It's just a tissue, piece of paper. And then he would let it go like that. And he said, what's important is, it is. It is. It has being. And that's why it's significant, because it has being. It is. And so the readings today, they are preparing us for the birth of God into the world, but God is not coming in some spectacular fashion. God is coming as a helpless infant. And there's joy surrounding the birth of this particular infant called Emmanuel, God with us. And it's like any birth. There's this child that comes into the world, and the child is helpless. And we don't love the child for what it can do. We don't love the child for how well he or she performs in the world. We don't love the child particularly for how special that child is or how beautiful that child is. It reminds me of a story about a cardinal in the church, Cardinal Sin from the Philippines, and he was the youngest of 10 children, and his mother over and over again would tell him how beautiful he was, and he would get together with his other siblings, and they would say, well, Mom never says that to us. And so finally, in his adolescence, he asked his mother, why, when I was a child, did you always tell me that I was so beautiful? And she said, well, you were the ugliest of my children. I had to tell you that you were beautiful. And so, you know, the baby being born might not even be beautiful. And yet, it has significance just because it is. There was a nurse practicing medicine in Korea during the Korean War, and she was working in an orphanage, and of course there were lots and lots of orphans because of the war and their parents being injured or killed, and there was one child, an infant, that was slowly dying, and the doctor said there's nothing medically wrong with this child. And so they just assigned it the diagnosis, failure to thrive. And so the nurse, she was very busy, she was head of this ward, and she was having to constantly make rounds, but she put the child on her desk, and every time she came back to the desk to do a report, she would take the baby out of the bassinet and hold the child and talk to the child and cuddle the child and feed the child and put it back. And within days, the child started to thrive. And to the point where the child was returned to the nursery and eventually did quite well. And so what that says to us is that because something exists, it demands our attention. Because something exists, it's meaningful. And so the meaning of our lives does not depend upon what we do or how we look or the ways that we make our way in the world. The fact that we exist, the fact that we were born in this life gives us complete and total significance and meaning. And this is